Alright, so this is the start of the mock draft that I'm going to be making. What I'm shooting for is 10 right, but I'll be alright with 8. And I kind of want to go for 16 at like a maximum. That'd be insane. Because if you get one wrong, then the rest are almost bound to be wrong due to like the whole draft shapes up. Like if the Bengals don't pick Joe Burrow, spoiler, then the whole draft would be insanely like mixed up. But I don't think it's going to happen. So, as we see here, first team, Bengals, team needs number 1 QB. So, easily, no matter what the trade situation is, I think Joe Burrow is definitely going to become a Bengal. Which brings us to number 2, which is the Redskins. And now I could very well see the Redskins trade out or trade down somewhere else into the top 10, because I do think they want a star player. They need one star player, because you think of the Redskins, you don't really think of any star players other than their need at edge, along with Ryan Kerrigan. Or they've had some decent corners, so that's why I say they don't go with Jeff Okudah, and they do go with the easy pick at Chase Young, just because of the fact that these picks and all the picks for the rest of the draft are going off of the situation of no trades, because you have to get premium for this bullshit. I'm going to go with the Lions. Would also have a possibility of trading down. Now, the easy pick in all other mock drafts is going to be Jeffrey Okudah. Jeff Okudah, corner from Ohio State. But I really do think they're going to make a stride here for Isaiah Simmons. Unfortunately, as a Raiders fan, I want the Raiders to get Isaiah Simmons with a possible trade up and trade down into the second round by trading up into the farther into the first. But I do think the Lions go with Isaiah Simmons, which lets the Giants choose where they want to go. They could choose Jeff Okudah, could trade down. They don't really know what's going to go on there. But I think the Giants are just going to go with their O-line, because they need to help out Daniel Jones, and they need to help out Saquon Barkley. So they start off with doing Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle out of Alabama. You know, kind of a boring pick if you're at 4 overall, but it's kind of just what needs to be done. Which leads me to number 5, the Miami Dolphins. Definitely need a quarterback. We're not going to have, Ryan Fitzpatrick, whoever's back there leading it. So, out of the QBs, we have Tua, we have Justin Herbert, and the next one is probably Jordan Love, I'm assuming. Yeah, Jordan Love. But really, all we want to know is, out of the two, Tua and Justin Herbert, who are we going to go with? And I think the person that fits this new deep threat Devontae Parker kind of offense is going to be, I would say Justin Herbert, but with the lack of running game in Miami, I think that Tua is going to be able to be a star running quarterback, mobile quarterback, and be able to throw it to Devontae Parker. I think Tua would be the better star player, whereas Justin Herbert is a very solid QB. So I think they're going to go with Tua, which leads Justin Herbert to go to the Chargers, just because of the fact that the Chargers also need a huge QB, to step up. They got rid of Phillip Rivers, so kind of makes an easy sense pick. Now the Panthers' second highest need, it shows, is the cornerback, and it's their dream day, because number 7, getting Jeff Okudah, according to this, which I probably think is correct, the third best player in this draft, personnel-wise. Based on team needs, it would be great for the Panthers to steal Jeff Okudah. And now we have the Cardinals going up at 8 overall. Another boring pick here. Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Offensive tackle needs to be done. They were going to go with the receiver in this draft, but they picked up DeAndre Hopkins via trade. So to help out Kyler Murray and that terrible offensive line, they're definitely going to need a tackle for a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray. So now we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. And really, I think they're going to get rid of Yannick Ngakoue to do a trade, because he really wants to leave, and they lost Calais Campbell. They lost AJ Boye. They really are lacking their defensive needs, and they do need a receiver, but DJ Chark will do them fine. And they don't need a quarterback, obviously. It says they do, but I think they're going to go with Minshew rather than going for, Jordan Love or, Jalen Hurts. So they're definitely going to go with Derek Brown out of Auburn. I saw Auburn versus Alabama earlier this year, and he, was noticeable on the field, at least in that game that I saw when Auburn took the W with the upset. So now we go to the Browns. The Browns is an interesting team because they have a lot of individual talent, but where they need to get better, probably without their star players, is offensive line. So we could go with Mekhi Becton out of Louisville, or they could go with this. They don't need a receiver. They could put somebody on the edge, but I think it'd be more beneficial if they just stack up the O-line, because it's going to be scary. If they give Baker Mayfield time with Nick Chubb in the backfield, definitely be huge for them. So I think there's going to be a offensive lineman pick there. Now we have the first team with a huge need at receiver. Biggest needed receiver in this draft is definitely the Jets. They did just lose. Robbie Anderson to the Carolina Panthers, which why that solidifies the Jeff Okudah pick right there. So now that the Jets need the receiver, honestly, I'm going to say it, Robbie Anderson is only known for his deep threats and deep routes, which, is good and beneficial because it gives those deep targets, makes the safeties play back. It leaves the middle of the field more open than it usually is. So I think with the speed and the route running, it's not going to be, it's going to be between Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs the third. And I think the most bang for their buck would be with Henry Ruggs, just because of his individual talent and his insane speed at the combine, as we all saw. So I think he's going to be a Jet, which leaves the Raiders with the biggest need at receiver. Definitely going to go with CeeDee Lamb. No bias, because these past picks have made sense. I think the Jets have been so used to deep threat Robbie Anderson that they're going to need another one, either Ruggs or Jerry Jeudy. And we have the Niners here. Could be going with a cornerback, but I think they only go with a cornerback either with their 31 or with their trade out pick. So they're going to tackle the receiver problem. They're going to pair up Jerry Jeudy with Deebo Samuel, which could be a deadly duo. We don't know. Both young receivers to start off. So now we have pick number 14 going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They don't have a run game, and they don't have an O-line for Brady, which could get deadly. But then again, in New England, Brady didn't have the best O-line, so he could work around that. But I think they need a better defense to be a good team. They are very, firepower on the offense. Mike Evans. They're going to have Tom Brady to get rid of Jameis Winston, who was good. 30 touchdowns, but also 30 interceptions. So they need more work on the defense, and we're going to go with their corner, Christian Fulton, out of LSU. Definitely a little early. Could have been snagged later on in the draft. But it leads us to number 15, the Denver Broncos. Von Miller, I'm pretty sure, is staying with them. We don't know the final word yet. He wants either a contract extension or he's leaving for a trade. But then again, they do need a receiver, but they also have Courtland Sutton, which was a good pickup from last draft. But they lost Chris Harris Jr. and I just don't see them having a stronger defense as they did last season. Drew Lock's playing good, so I think the offense is fine. Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon. So I think the offense is definitely a strong point. So we're going to go with another corner here. Their safeties are fine. So the next corner on the board is C.J. Henderson out of Florida, which I do want the Raiders to pick with their 19, but realistically I think the Broncos are going to be taking a corner rather than a receiver. If they go with the receiver, I think they're going to have struggles on the defense. So that's why I choose the Broncos going with C.J. Henderson. Which brings us now to number 16, halfway through the draft, the Atlanta Falcons. They let's see. Picked up Todd Gurley, don't need a running back. Matt Ryan's going to be a solid quarterback, like it or don't, for the next 5 at least years, 5, 6 years. So they need help on the edge. So, yeah, I don't know how to say this guy's name. Clavon Chasen. Let's read his report right here. Chasen, I just completely butchered the name. Okay, so he has first step explosiveness. So he's 6'4", 250, which is actually pretty big for an edge. I think, just looking at everybody else on the board, he is quite obviously the best edge or line player available. So that's why the Falcons are going to take him with pretty much ease because there's no other corners. Jeff Gladney is pretty late, so I wouldn't want to. With this much proven talent in this year's draft, I don't expect there's really that many surprises, and if there is, it'd be pretty sad. Now we have the Cowboys. Now the Cowboys, in my opinion, are the best individual talent team in the NFL, but they just can't put it together. Their new coaching staff is going to need to step it up because they have, think about it, DeMarcus Lawrence, they have Amari Cooper, they have Ezekiel Elliott, they have what's his name, Dak Prescott. They did lose Byron Jones, but they also have Leighton Vander Esch. I mean, the list goes on and on about their players. But since they did lose Byron Jones, they're going to go with the next best cornerback on the board, which is Jeff Gladney at TCU. Let's read his report just to see a little bit. Great athlete, 6 feet, 183. 6 foot is actually not that big, not that tall for a corner. But, I mean, clearly if he got the job done to be prospected this high, he's doing something right. So we're going to draft him with the quarterback, or the cornerback. Yeah, that brings us back to the Dolphins again. And in my opinion, this one's pretty easy. Actually, it's not easy at all. There's 2 positions, safety, in my opinion, and O-line, which need work because they did lose Minkah Fitzpatrick, but they also need to protect Tua. Need to protect Tua because he's going to be mobile out of the pocket. But since he is going out of the pocket, the O-line doesn't have to be as good, or maybe it could be better. But I think he can escape the pressure. So I think Xavier McKinney out of Alabama, best safety on the board. Unfortunately, staying it from the Raiders again. Is going to be the move and the play for the Miami Dolphins. So bringing it back to the Raiders, I don't know why they have 2 needs at receiver, but they're going to go with the number 1 pick left for the defense, Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina, defensive line, which they need help on because they need to be, they picked some people up in free agency, but they need somebody in front of Maurice Hurst or PJ Hall. They need a star player on the D line other than Max Crosby, which is defensive edge, and they're number 4 overall last year. Cleveland Farrell is also an edge. So interior lineman on the defense of South Carolina, Javon Kinlaw, would be probably the smartest move if they don't trade out. Now, I do think the Raiders are going to trade out of either the 19 or 12. I'm assuming the 19, just to get some second-round picks, so they have 0 second-round picks. But the second pick for the Jaguars, let's see. They need a corner, but the next corner is not going to be even close to being on the board for where they need to go. So the safety is going to be the position where they need to attack, which I think is going to be good for them because they need 2 players in the first round of the defense. Is kind of clutch because they have, let's see, Leonard Fournette, Gardner Minshew, DJ Chark, and another Cole guy, receiver, known receiver on the Jaguars. I don't think they need help other than the O-line, possibly. Don't know too much about their O-line, but I think the safety is kind of a safe bet. Grant Delpit out of LSU. 6'3", which is tall for a safety, 200 pounds. So it looks like he's pretty athletic. He's an animal playing forward. So you could just give the firepower for the safety position for the Jaguars. So I think Grant Delpit out of LSU will be the best idea for the Jaguars. Now we have the needs for the Eagles. They definitely need a receiver because Nelson Aguilar, even though the quote-unquote drop man, is now on the Raiders. They need a receiver because they do not have a number 1. I can't even name a single receiver on the Eagles right now. So then Justin Jefferson, we saw him pull up clutch against Oklahoma in the college football playoffs. So I think that the ability to score so many touchdowns and the firepower that he brings game to game is going to be clutch. He even did it against Clemson in the finals. So I think they're going to be definitely a huge step up receiver in big games that they even need to win against the Cowboys and Giants midway to the season in the NFC least. The weak division, winning those couple of division games might put you in the playoffs, especially with the 7-team format this season. So I think that is definitely clutch for their team this season. So number 22 is going to be the Vikings, which I don't know how it says they're number 1. Oh, because they did lose Captain Munnerlyn via free agency this this past free agency. And they do need a receiver, but they also have Adam Thielen, which can be a solid number 1. So I don't think it's a necessary, address situation. So honestly, I'm going to put them going with an O-lineman, Andrew Thomas, out of Georgia, because if they can get Dalvin Cook some more time to run, I felt like the pocket collapsed on Dalvin Cook a lot in the playoffs, from what I remember, which is going to be kind of crucial for the team that always makes it to the second round of the playoffs and loses, even though they beat the Saints every single year. So O-lineman, boring but necessary for every team. Now we have the Patriots. Like it or hate it, I have to have them sending a quarterback here. And knowing Bill Belichick, I don't think he's going to go for a mobile quarterback just because the system he's been using has not been out. The offensive coordinator has not gone with a mobile quarterback for the past 20 years. So they're going to go with a default Jordan Love. So he's 6'4", 223, which is huge for a quarterback. He can, throw it deep down the field. Has great awareness. Even though it says cons awareness, I don't remember having bad awareness. Fails to recognize completely just good coverage rotations. Well, from what I remember, or the very little clips I've seen, he threw it down the field pretty well. So I kind of contradicted myself, but in that little thing right there. But I do think he's going to be the number 1 quarterback and a necessary need for the Patriots going down the line because they don't have a quarterback to play with right now. Okay, so now we have the Saints, the team that should have won the Super Bowl this year. Needing a linebacker. I can't remember the last time I've named a Saints linebacker in ever. I've never been able to name the Saints linebacker. So we're going to go with a snag and steal Patrick Queen out of LSU. Would have gone with Kenneth Murray, but he was, he was kind of slow towards the end of the season. So Patrick Queen definitely proven, as you can see here, the huge freaking list of his pros. Kenneth Murray is bigger, I think, just by a little bit. So I think Patrick Queen overall has the better play style. And we have the Vikings again, having 2 overall picks because 2 first-round picks because of the Stephon Diggs trade. They already addressed the O-line in this draft, so I think they're going to go with their corner for losing Captain Munnerlyn. Or they could go with a receiver to just go for a 1-2 punch, but I don't think it's as necessary as other teams. So edge to stack up the defense, or we could go with another O-line. I think we're going to go with an O-line. There's not a good O-line for the rest of the year, so we're going to go with a edge player, Zach Bond, out of Wisconsin. As we know, Wisconsin played against Ohio State twice this year. Did lose both times. But, playing against those big name players, J.K. Dobbins, one of the best, if not the best, running back in this draft. Gives him some experience. So we're going to go with Zach Bond. Which brings us to the 3rd pick of the Dolphins. They definitely need an O-line. Yeah, they need an O-line to get help Tua. So the next O-line we see on here is Cesar Ruiz. Don't know how to pronounce that. 6'4", 320. Huge O-lineman out of Michigan, who also has to be blocking against Chase Young. Actually, maybe not Chase Young because he is on the edge, but could have been on a double team. So you never know. We're going to go with Cesar Ruiz for the Dolphins. Now we have the Seahawks, 27, almost nearing the end. But if they do not sign Jadeveon Clowney, they do need an edge. So we're going to go off them not signing Jadeveon Clowney. So they do need to help out Bobby Wagner on the defense. They've got a good offense other than the O-line, which needs help. They do have, Chris Carson, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. They've got those firepower weapons to be able to use. DK Metcalf's going to be great in the future. So I think we just got to go the edge again. Yetur Gross-Matos. Hopefully I said that right. Penn State. They just need, if they can go back to that, 2016, 2015 Legion of Boom defense, they can go back to their success and their roots. So now we have the Ravens, 28 overall. Do need a linebacker if you think about it, because they do not have one, but they do have a pretty solid defense and offense. Offense, they could go with an O-lineman, but I think they're fine. The offense is not new work. We saw how many points they put up last season. The defense is the only area that could have stopped other teams from putting up points, especially against Derrick Henry, letting him get so many yards. But we're going to go with the linebacker, Kenneth Murray, as he's definitely a steal for 28, in my opinion. Whoever team needs a linebacker definitely should be striking on Patrick Queen and Kenneth Murray. We have the Titans. Unfortunately, the Titans, I feel like they do have a lot of needs for being 29 overall, because they did make it to the AFC Championship. But they did lose a defensive tackle to the Broncos. Casey, I'm pretty sure, was his name, in the beginning of the season. Or beginning of free agency, my bad. So they do need an edge or a defensive lineman. So Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma is the next rated prospect. 6'2", 304. If he is a defensive tackle, that's not huge, but I think it's definitely sufficient enough to be playing. He comes out of Oklahoma, so big school, has this experience and probably the play style. Now the Packers, I do not see them needing a receiver, honestly. I mean, Davante Adams is definitely a number one. They have, I think they have Allison as their number 2 receiver. And they've got some alright receivers just to back them up. So I think the tight end is going to be the biggest need to give Aaron Rodgers a little bit more pressure. Their D-line is fine. Preston Smith, Za'Darius Smith, the 2 linebackers going to be pushing the whole time. Interior defensive lineman is definitely where they need to help. But I think the tight end is going to be the number 1 problem. So with the tight end position in need, I do think they're going to go stretch here. We're going to go with, we have no tight ends on the board for a while. Okay, that's interesting. Where's Moss? Whoa, way farther down than I thought he was going to be. Okay, well, maybe these prospect tight ends are not as good as we think they are. The defensive lineman position could be just Ross Blacklock. I mean, honestly, TCU, we get a lot of TCU plays, actually. Jeez, out of this draft. But 6'4", 310 almost is going to be good enough. He gets the goods, juice, power, size, and motor to make plays. So if he has the speed, it's just firepower to get off the line and causes 2 O-linemen to go after him. And Za'Darius Smith, Preston Smith, going to be rushing the quarterback. It's going to be a deadly combo. So it's going to be quite the easy pick considering everything else. And now we have the 49ers. Now, the 49ers are going to need... They already picked up the receiver. They could go with another cornerback to pair up with Richard Sherman. But I think in their best interest, if Matt Breida is gone, Jerick McKinnon's gone, most likely due to his injuries, they have Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman's an okay average running back. Raheem Mostert is good, but we haven't seen him, we've seen him take over games, but we haven't seen him play just by himself as a star running back. They had the triple combo last season. And if people can catch on to their play style, I don't know what they're going to be able to do without having another trio. So if they can continue that with DeAndre Swift or J.K. Dobbins, I think DeAndre Swift's a little bit faster. Reads unblocked overhangs. So has the shiftiness to play against these linebackers and corners. So I think DeAndre Swift's going to be a better pick for the 49ers. Bringing us to the last pick, Kansas City Chiefs. They do need a lot of work on the defense, as we saw in the beginning of last season, but they picked it up in towards the end. But when we think of the Kansas City Chiefs, I think of the offense. And to complete their offense, they do need a running back because the teams are going to catch on. Hopefully the Raiders catch on to their passing game. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hartman. So the last pick, the Chiefs are going to go with J.K. Dobbins, the second best or best running back. Could be make an argument for both. They're going to go with J.K. Dobbins. Saw a couple of games of him just tearing it up, especially against Michigan. J.K. Dobbins is a solid running back going to the Chiefs, which sums up the first round of the draft. So, hope you guys enjoyed. This is just a little rundown of the people who are picked. Pretty simple. I'm assuming with these first 10 picks, almost everybody can agree with them, I think. So, let me know if you guys think, any concerns or questions or comments on anything that I've made, and hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, hoping for 10 right, would be satisfied with 8, and if I got 16, that'd just be a dream. See you later.